Bjam, bjam, hunda, Oskar, moder, mau, mau, katt. Hab, hab, tak,
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Talking with Heathens. Good evening, Papa.
Good evening. Good evening.
How have you been this past week, man? You've been doing good. And good evening to everybody who's watching. Good evening. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Talking with Heathens. Episode 37, by the way.
hmm Welcome, everybody. Sid, to answer your question, I've been well this past week. I've really been enjoying the shift in the weather. I know we're not officially into the season's change until the 23rd this month, but meteorological fall begins right around the 1st of September in our calendars. That's when you start noticing the shift in the weather, the temperature, the storm systems that come in. It's been nice. Cooler mornings, cooler evenings.
It's been
The
that way here,
sun,
too.
the sun setting a little bit earlier.
Here
It's
it
been
is in
nice.
September, and it's feeling like already beginning of August. I'm feeling it. I took the kid. We had some company over this past week, and they came from Michigan down here to visit my wife and myself and the family, and we went to this place called Garden Suite, and they had this like little fall shindig. I'm gonna say that. They had a little hay ride, and it's a garden there. Of course, you can buy plants and shit, but they just put together this little festival, and everybody was allowed to go and jump house and get face painted and pictures taken and this and that. It was a fun little time.
I love those fall festivals and the pumpkin patch and corn maze and apple cider donuts.
I ended up buying a bunch of pumpkins, and now my front porch looks like a pumpkin patch. Yeah, I bought too many pumpkins, but it was fun. It was nice having company over and hanging out with some people in person for a change, and not just always over virtually. So getting out and doing things, having a breakfast, and then going out to that little festival was fun. It's had a good week. Some nice company over this week. Let's hello to everybody here in the chat room. Hello, Mary Beth. Good evening to you. Welcome. Good to see you. Jamie, good evening to you as well. Susie, good evening. Oh, well, good morning. Would it be good morning there, right? In
I
Tasmania, it's probably morning time.
think so. I think so.
Wee early hours. Good evening, Jasmine. How are you all doing? Thanks for tuning in tonight with us. We got a show tonight. 10 a.m. ish. See, it's morning time. Morning time. 10 a.m. ish. And Jamie says here, pumpkin pie time. It is getting damn close. It's like I'm itching for it. I'm ready for October. I'm ready for November too though, but October's always my one of my favorite months. Good evening, Richard. How are you doing, buddy? Thanks for tuning in. But tonight's show, we're talking about getting back to the basics. What do you think about that, Papa? Do you think it's a good show for tonight?
I think it's a good show, and I think it's an excellent practice. Getting back to the basics. I mean, especially if you're a Waylon Jennings fan.
Well, I mean, our lives can get really busy. Going to work, people's got to get there and or getting up and doing your own thing. You got to keep the business moving. You got to keep working. Your life gets busy, and then sometimes we find ourselves our practice gets busy. Sometimes we catch ourselves overdoing things when we really don't need to in our practice in our everyday life. And I think sometimes it's vital for us to get back to the basics of just who you are, what your core principles are as a person, and building back that up again and getting rid of some of that unwanted stuff that you got going on in your life.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I know it's a simple thing to say, but a lot of people that hear it think it's an impossibility. You just can't get back to basics anymore. Life itself is too complicated. Technology, where we are as a society, there's just no way to get back to like a basic way of living or basic way of practicing it at all. But there are things outside of your control, like the life happening around you, your work, whatever it may be, that are going to be uh, overcomplicated. So that's all the more reason for you to take collective of what you do have a say in, and keep from overcomplicating those things yourself. How much are you overcomplicating versus what the world is already doing for you? Because that's a dog pile. But how much are you overcomplicating without thinking about it?
Why tonight? Why should we get back to the basics? And I come up with focusing on the fundamentals will help you simplify and streamline your efforts. By identifying your core principles that matter most, you can cut through the clutter and focus on what's important. I think it's really important. I know I tend to overcomplicate things, and I'm working on decluttering my life to make it a little bit more simpler and streamline my life a little bit more. It's challenging, especially when you're at home homeschooling. You're doing these things like that, and you're at home doing your things, and then just trying to fit in your practice. We can overcomplicate it. I mean, I've seen it in the community a lot where we just kind of just like, okay, we need to back up, put on the brakes a little bit, and reevaluate what you're doing. So I came up with 8 basic ways of getting back to the basic. 8 ways, and not necessarily these are not 8 steps. You have to go through 8 steps, but these are just 8 ways to kind of sort of like get back to the basics in your life again. And I'm going to kind of touch base with these, but as I'm going through these, Pop, I want to I want you to give us your opinion and what your thoughts are on these as well. So the first one I got here is know your value and vision. Now these are some ways, like I said, not these are just ways to get back to the basics in your life. These may vary depending on what the situation in your life is. Sometimes we get caught up, right? And knowing what our value and our vision is, because sometimes we don't realize our own value, and sometimes we listen to other people when it comes to our vision.
Hmm. When it comes to your value, if you don't understand your worth or who you are or feel comfortable in that, you're going to find yourself looking for ways to uh, live up to or impress other people or get other people to take notice of you or to see your value or your worth. And that is an overcomplication, because then you find yourself doing things that aren't true to you, not genuine to yourself, your person, or your practice, but you're doing them for the sake of trying to show or prove value to someone else. So know your value. And
I
don't worry
waste a lot
about
of
if other people see it or not.
I
They
waste a
will, and if they don't, they don't.
I wasted a lot of my 20s trying to prove what my value was to other people, especially like my parents. I always wanted to prove to them, I always wanted to prove something to them, that I'm not the complete failure, I'm not completely a fuck up. And it's just a lot of wasted time. So it's really vital to know what your value is and how important your vision is and or your dreams, so to speak.
And on vision, make sure that your vision, in that you've identified purpose, make sure that vision has purpose. Your intention could be there, but your intention is also going to lead you down this side road, this side road, this side road while you're going for that straight vision. But if you remember your purpose in that vision, you're not going to get lost on those side roads that come along in fulfilling it. It's going to help
Absolutely.
you keep on track.
Here for number two, I think this is all of us are kind of can get guilty of this if we let it. And number two, I thought of be mindful of your mental space.
We talked about this last week.
We just talked about this last week how we get easily caught up in our own shit, and we start believing what is going on in our what we kind of almost in a sense create these scenarios of fantasies in our head and get caught up in our own head thinking about things that really ain't even happening.
That's where self-doubt comes in. And uh, if you pay that person mind who has had a disagreement with you and they felt to even the score, they're going to insult you. You pay that person's insult mind, it's going to take up space in your head. And for what? Why are you giving them that? Why are you allowing that for yourself? Um, Again, it's taking your energy, think of it as a currency. You're paying out, giving that energy for that rent space in your head, thinking about this person's insult. Meanwhile, they're not paying anything. It's not a matter to them at all. So that's not really an equal exchange. Uh, it's a it's a waste.
Well, it's really you got to take care of yourself, and we have to we got to constantly check in on our own selves. And some, like I said, sometimes we can get caught up in this whole shitstorm that's going on in our head in the moment, that we can get lost in what we're doing, and then sometimes that's hard to come back from. So being mindful of your mental space where you're at. If you're struggling, it's okay to reach out. And if it's too much, if life is too much, that's okay too. Get rid of some of that stuff. Get rid of some of that stuff that you don't that's causing you this stress. That's causing this your mental space to be fucked up at that time. Learn how to get rid of it. There's a lot. I got a lot of points, and they're all kind of leading into the same thing. So I'm kind of speaking, and then other ones got popping up as well. So number three here is be intentional with your time. We spend like what we just said. We waste a lot of time worrying about things like that, and if you're not intentional with your time, then there's all this wasteful time that you're putting in doing stuff that what's the point? What's your point? What are you getting at? Why are you doing what you're doing? Are you doing things just to show off? Are you just doing how are you spending your time? Are you spending it wisely? Spending it with family? Are you spending all the time work in your head?
And I'm going to keep pumping on this because I just can't help it. I love being intentional with your time, but also be purposeful with your time. If I've got a free hour in the day and my intent is to take that hour and say, you know what, I'm going to clean up the kitchen, I'm going to do dishes. It's my intention. I might get sidetracked. But if I make that time, if I set that goal as my purpose for this hour is to clean the kitchen and do the dishes. You're going to catch yourself from going down that side road or being sidetracked or okay, before I start this cleaning, I want to turn some music on. And man, I love that song, but it makes me think of this song. So now I'm going to play it. Now you've lost half your time scrolling through music and you haven't got a damn thing done that you set out to do. Your intention was good, but if it's lacking purpose, you're going to slip.
Which comes right back to that whole point of knowing your values, your vision, being mindful of your mental space, being intentional with your time. I mean, your time is valuable, even if it's for yourself. If you're trying something, I mean, like here's an example. If you're trying something that doesn't work out, I don't find that a waste of your time because you're trying something new. You're exploring what you can and cannot do. And if it doesn't work out, hey, that's not waste time because you tried. You
That
tried.
you've learned something from it. Whether you win or fail, you've still learned something.
So by uncluttering your mind and getting back to the basics, let some of that stuff go. Tonight we got some music tonight too, Papa. I almost forgot about our music tonight. Wow,
What do you have on deck?
I just wanted to jump right into the show tonight, and here I'm forgetting everything. But I got music.
It's my fault. I had some major technical difficulties before we got the show started tonight. So yeah, I've got these things in new for you guys to see, tethered to the tower down here, locked in. I hope I'm not yelling in anybody's ear. I don't know if it's coming
sounds
through
really good for being headphones.
This microphone or the one set over here.
But we do got music for you guys.
Listen.
That not be the microphone we're using right there. That's on the headphones. But we got music for you guys tonight. I got music lined up. All friends of ours from Entertainment Media. All the bands tonight are all the way out in the UK. So they're over the pond bands tonight. I'm over the pond bands tonight. So all really good bands, all really good friends of ours here at Entertainment Media, had on the shows many of times. So we're going to start off tonight with some music for you guys. This band that's all the way out there, like I said, in the UK. This is One Last Day with their latest video, Out of the Black. We'll be right back, guys.
The Alvaetier Workshop is dedicated to the old ways, offering a wide selection of animist ritual supplies, divination tools, altar goods, and home decor, including premium reindeer hides imported from traditional herders in northern Finland. Whether you're just starting your spiritual journey or looking to expand your collection with a custom drum, we have everything you need. Visit our online store at thealvaetier.com and discover the beauty of mountain spirit.
Hey, this is Rod from Just a Ride, and you're watching Inner Demon Media.
Release your inner demons.
Of the black. Of the black. By the hand and let her follow me. Save me. She said,
Welcome back, everybody, to Talking with Heathens. That was One Last Day. All the way out there in the UK, friends of ours here of Inner Demon Media had them on several of our Talking with Demons shows. I think they even performed live on one of my birthday shows I threw on last year, I think. But great band. I thought tonight, why not keep a theme? Why not have a theme of all of my favorite UK bands or artists tonight?
It's off to a good start. I really enjoyed that one.
That was a good little tune. We got some later on in the show. We got a good friend of mine. I've watched this young lady grow from just doing great things, starting off from the very beginning. We became really close friends. Catching McCarbs, her new song "Mother of God's" gonna be on tonight as well, and a band that I've had on the show previously as well, from all the way from the UK, Blitz, with their song "Freddie Said." Their official video just came out 8 days ago. So that's the music lineup tonight.
Ironic for a British band to call themselves Blitz after what they went through with the Blitzkrieg during World War II.
Well, they're good bands tonight. Some good music. But yep, tonight we're talking about as well getting back to the basics. And I compiled like this small little list of things that we can touch base on tonight. And we left off with being intentional with your time. And I thought number 4 was a good one too as well. Papa, tell me what you think. Just learn to say no.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, especially now where we're all so connected, social media, the internet, you're going to have 10, 20, 100 times more people looking for your time, wanting a piece of your time, needing your time, sometimes they'll say. Uh, but sometimes you have to remember that you've got to take care of yourself, especially if you're working in a position that you're helping other people. You got to help yourself first. If you're not well, you're not going to help anyone else to be well either.
I mean, if you guys are anything out there watching this, anything like me, it's hard to say no. You want to help people, you don't want to let people down. So it's hard to say no, but I tell you, it's a must to learn to say no, because a lot of our getting back to the basics is some of it's we do it to ourselves by not saying no. We're taking on all these different projects and responsibilities, and we're not saying no. We're just saying yes, 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 yes. I'll do it, no problem. And then before you know it, there you go. You got a big pile of stuff sitting on your back, and you're trying to maneuver life now with all these responsibilities and projects going on. And it's important to say no.
And I like it. And I know there's this thing that is going around. It's a I guess a meme that says, learn to say no without an explanation. Like you don't have to explain why you're saying no or come up with an excuse or a reason. You don't owe that to anybody technically, but uh, I like to be honest if I'm going to say no, and it's freeing and it feels good, and people learn to respect you and your time through hearing that actual reason. Like, I'm going to say no, but I'm not going to make it up like a no, I just can't come because something else. I'm going to say no because I've already planned for myself to go sit in the woods. It's nothing spectacularly important or pressing or life threatening that I need to be there for somebody, but that's some time for me. And I'm telling you no because I'm going to take that time to do this thing for myself.
Don't feel guilty about saying no. We just touched base on number 3. Be intentional with your time. Your time is valuable just as much as if someone's coming to you and say, "Hey, man, I got something going on. Can you cover me at work?" It's okay to say no. Your time is just as important as their time. They should have worked around it. Learn to say no. It's okay. Don't feel guilty about it. It's okay to say no. Number 5, Papa. Number 5, I think is it, I see it a lot in the community. Is is number 5. Question the stories you tell yourself. And you're probably asking, well, that's kind of interesting. Well, it is, because we do tend to tell ourselves that we're sometimes bigger in the britches than what we really are. Sometimes we let our ego get in the way and create more problems and more stress, and makes it harder and harder for you to get back to the basics. Questioning the stories you tell you. What are you telling yourself? What are you telling yourself when you're alone at home by yourself in a room? What you're telling people, I'm using this as an example, especially in social media. You're telling people what you want them to know in public, but what are you telling yourself behind those curtains, behind those closed doors? Are you feeding into all that hype that's being told to you? Are you still being true to you? Are you believing the stories that these people tell you? Are you believing your lies, perhaps?
Yeah, you get onto social media, you want this following, you want this fame, you want these people to look up to you. So you build this image of yourself and create this persona that now you're stuck with living up to, even though it's not really who you are. And that overcomplicates things. That really complicates things because you're now spending a whole lot of time, a whole lot of energy, a whole lot of effort in keeping this image up, keeping this person up that's not really you. You're not happy. Yeah, it's great to have these followers on the outside, but on the inside, you're suffering. You have no time anymore because you're doing all these things to
You're
make
trying to
this
keep this
image.
image up that you've created by listening to the stories that you're telling yourself, by listening to the outside noise. You take that in, you start believing this stuff, and you start creating these fantasies. It's hard. You're right. It's hard to keep up with. It's hard to keep up with. Your daily life will be consumed by it.
It works in the same way on the opposite. If you start telling yourself these stories about, I'm not good enough, or that uh, people are avoiding me, my friends are avoiding me, nobody is including me. If you start telling yourself these things, you're going to believe yourself over anybody else on either side, whether it's the good or the bad. You're going to believe it because it's in your heart, it's coming from your mind. You're the loudest voice in your head. So you're going to believe it. And you've got to catch yourself in those moments and say, am I being true to myself? Or is this me telling myself something um, because it's what I feel?
You're force feeding a lie to hide the truth. And I've just had, that's funny that, because I've just been dealing with with my friend that told you that I had over. He's forced he's forcing he's telling these stories in his head to the point that he believes these stories. So it's why it's important to question the stories that you tell yourself. What are you telling yourself? Are you making your life overcomplicated? Are you being, we say this 100 times during the show, are you being authentic to your true self?
And
What
bring it
are
back to, where did this story even come from? Have I thought this up? Has someone told this to me? Is there any truth to it? Is there any evidence of it? And then decide whether or not you're going to believe this story that you're telling yourself.
it can lead down a very, very dangerous road for yourself mentally and spiritually if you don't learn to put yourself in check and what you're telling yourself, especially when it comes into your spiritual path. Definitely question what you're telling, because there's people out there that take their spiritual path to the extreme, to the point they believe that they're talking to gods and their relatives to gods and this and that. Sometimes that can get delusional. Question the stories that you tell yourself.
In the last 5 years, I've seen this huge shift that there aren't, like, there are more spiritual leaders now in the community than there has ever been in history. But these spiritual leaders are more spiritual entertainers. You're not really leading anyone into a good message, a good place of spirit, any sort of healing. Uh, you're leading for followers. And so it's entertainment, it's putting on garb, it's acting out some sort of scene to look a certain way, it's building up this image, uh, which is the intention without purpose.
Man. Look, we're having a good show. This is really turned out to be a great show. We're going to take ourselves another music break for another band of a friend of mine, artist as well, all the way out there in the UK. This is Ketchy McCarr with her latest single, Mother of God. We'll be right back, guys. You're watching Talking with Heathens. You're hanging out with me, and you're hanging out with that guy right there, Papa. We'll be right back, y'all.
Mother of God.
Hey, we're Single by Sunday, and you're watching Entertainment Media. Release your entertainment!
Living with a man on top. Well, will he understand enough is enough? Societal pressure, I'm sick of societal pressure. It's all too much for me. I just want my money. I just wanna go back to sleep. I just want to be free, but the man upstairs won't let me. Mother of God, what have you done? You got to live on the rule of the sun. You're the sun I know from above. How can we go on without your love? Mother of God, I must confess, been down on my knees with a hole through my chest, feeling so helpless and vulnerable. Ever since you've been gone, you said it's insufferable. Mother of God, Mother of God. So sick of feeling like I'm not enough. Will this double standard ever stop? Societal pressure, I'm done with the fucking pressure. It's all too much for me. So I call out to my mother, asking her for help. Call out to the heavens, or I'll go back down to her. Mother of God, what have you done? You got to live on the rule of the sun. You're the sun I know from above. How can we go on without your love? Mother of God, I must confess, I've been down on my knees with a hole in my chest, feeling so helpless and vulnerable. Ever since you've been gone, it's been insufferable. Can you hear me crying out there? Oh, there's no one out there to hear my prayer. You can never love you, you don't know how. The Mother of God can't help us now. Mother of God, what have you done? You got to live on the rule of the sun. You're the sun I know from above. How can we go on without your love? Mother of God, I just confess, I'm down on my knees with a hole through my chest, feeling so helpless and vulnerable. Ever since you've been gone, it's been insufferable. Mother of God.
Welcome back, everybody. Talking with Heathens. That was Ketchy McCarr with Mother of God. What do you think about that one, buddy?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I totally get the message. Absolutely.
To be young again.
Yeah. that too.
She's barely in her mid-20s. She's come a long way. She started off doing covers on her YouTube channel, then came out with her first EP a couple of years back called "I'm on Fire," and just signed with a record label not too long ago. But good things are happening to her. She's got a great voice, great song though, great song.
I think they've got a great drummer also.
Yeah. Catches, Mary Beth says Catches sounds amazing, right? I couldn't agree more. Mary Beth?
That vocalizing toward the end of that song, I think like maybe the last 40 seconds was really, really good.
Yeah, good song. And we got another band up tonight as well to close off the show with is Blitz. All the other band we've had on our show. But tonight we are talking about getting back to the basics.
To the basics of
And
love.
8 ways to get back to the basics, and we have covered 5 of the 8 ways in tonight's show so far. And number 6 we got coming up for you guys is implement systems and routines. Bring a little structure into your life. Don't let it get so cluttered and shit like that. You know what I mean? Implement systems and routines of things important because then you're making valuable decisions with your time.
Mm-hmm. It's purpose driven.
That's it.
Your routine has purpose. It's to get to work on time. So your routine is to get up, have breakfast, brush your teeth, whatever, take a shower, have coffee, leave by a certain time to get there to a certain time. That's purpose. Routines. And a lot of people think the term ritual is reserved only for religious action or religious routine. But ritual is routine. It's anything that you do over and over in that set certain way. You hear it as, I don't know, it's not really a slang, but in that other form, like he sits down to watch football ritually every Sunday. Like every Sunday he does this. But that's ritual. A lot of people are performing ritual through their routine without realizing it.
And that's daily life.
So be mindful. Now that you know you're practicing ritual, you can be more mindful of what you're practicing.
And if you don't think that you have any routines, you're wrong, because everybody has a routine. You just don't, like Papa said, you don't realize it.
Human beings are creatures of habit. Absolutely.
But it's always good to implement new systems into your practice as well.
Healthy.
That may streamline or simplify what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7, Papa, is pause and reflect. And this is probably one of the most important ones, because a lot of people don't do it enough, and that's where that gratitude comes in. If you take pause and reflect, you get to see some of the fruits of your labor, things that you accomplished, the goals that you set. I've been guilty of that, where I've not taken. I just been so driven where I just wanted to achieve certain goals that I just keep driving and driving and driving. But I have learned how to pause and reflect. It does declutter, and it helps you get back to the basics again. Okay, this is what I wanted to create. This is what I've created. Now I'm pausing and I'm reflecting on what I've created. Now I can kind of remember or get my drive back again on why I began it all in the first place. If you don't pause and reflect, you lose sight of what your vision is, right? And your value, because you're just driving, pushing, and you're not taking time to just sit back and relax and pause and take a break. It's all right to take breaks and reflect.
And pause is important. It's hugely important. And we miss this so much because just like we're creatures of habit, as human beings, we're very reactionary. As someone says something, we have an emotional reaction. We don't pause and reflect on it. We pause and affect on it. So we just instantly blurt something back as a rebuttal or a retort or We don't pause for a second, think about what's happening. We just react. When you give yourself that pause, you give yourself a minute to think about it, to understand what's happening, and then you can reflect, react, or affect. And it doesn't always have to be that argument. You can realize this person said a bad thing to me. I'm going to pause, think about why it was said, and then realize I don't have to engage in that. I don't have to say anything back. They're wasting their breath, they're wasting their time, and I'm not going to allow them to waste mine. But instead, we react. And so we go back and we say something, then they say something, and next thing you know, here you are an hour later, still typing on your keyboard. You've wasted time with your family, you've wasted your peace of mind, and you're angry, you're upset.
Creating more clutter and making it so much more harder for you to accomplish anything that you want because you got so much clutter in your life. Why getting back to the basics is so important, and why tonight's show, these 8 ways of getting back to the basics. These ain't once again, these are not steps. These are just ways to get yourself whatever method of these 8 any one of these 8 could work for any one of you guys. Pick one. Pause and reflect. Try it out. See if that works. See if that helps declutter some of the stuff that you got going on in your life that's not needed.
Yeah, they're all situational.
Number 8, which we just spoke on it. Declutter your physical space. If you live cluttered, your life's going to be cluttered. If you're surrounded by a mess, you're that's a direct reflection of what's going on in your life, right? At least that's how I think of it anyway. Declutter your physical space. Freshen things up, change things up a bit. There's nothing wrong with moving a picture over to one wall to another, or moving a piece of furniture from one room to another, just to change the look up.
And I may be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure we've all seen an episode of Hoarders. And I may be wrong in this, but have you ever seen one of those people happy? Have you ever seen one of those people at peace? No, they're stressed out, they're upset. They've hoarded all the things that make them happy, or that they think make them happy, the things that they like. They have so much of it. But when you see these people on the show, do they seem like a happy person?
Everyone else seems really upset. Their life is shit. They're crying. They don't want to be on the earth anymore. There's like 1,000 things going wrong with them. Just because of the
become overwhelming. It's become overwhelming, overcomplicated. Now they've taken on so much they don't know what to do with it. And that's what we're talking about tonight. Declutter your life. Where it weighs you down.
Well, it's kind of like a direct reflection of what your personality is going on at the time. If you're feeling like your life's a mess, things around you is going to reflect that as well. But also, it's decluttering your space could be just changing things up, moving things around, freshening things up, buying something new, or time for some new furniture. Maybe you're tired of looking at the same old furniture, that drab old furniture, and you want a new couch.
Yeah, we really do take that on the inside. Our environment has a big impact on our mind, our spirit, everything about us. Think about it. If you go out into the woods and you see this beautiful waterfall, how do you feel? You feel good. You're not that waterfall. You're not out. You're not the forest itself, but you're seeing it. You're in that environment, and it makes you feel good. So your environment is critical. If you go stand in the middle of a landfill, you're going to probably feel pretty trashy, yucky, ugh. Look at the smell, the stink. Like, you're going to feel inside what your environment is.
That's
both ways. You step into a nice hotel lobby and it's fancy. You feel good. You feel fancy.
You walk into a hotel room, you're thinking you're looking at the picture when you reserve the hotel room. The picture looks really nice. Oh, it's a beautiful suite. You get there and it's completely the polar opposite.
Shit show, crawling stuff.
Well, there you go, folks. That is tonight's show. 8 ways. Our 8 ways tonight. We're going to summarize it up. Our 8 ways tonight to getting back to the basics. 8 ways, not 8 steps. Keep that in mind. These are not steps. These are just different variations of ways to get yourself back to the basic. First up, we had know your value and vision. Number 2, we had be mindful of your mental space.
If I could add a piece to that number 2,
Yeah.
Your mental space. We talk about peace of mind a lot, different from I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. Peace, EA versus IE. Your peace of mind is huge in getting back to the basics. And we do this to ourselves, and I'm going to ask everybody to take responsibility, accountability. If you let yourself get caught up in things like gossip, rumor, strife, talking about someone, saying a bad thing about someone, involving yourselves in other people's issues or quarrels, that weighs on you. You have to constantly worry about, is someone going to be upset because I told about this? Is someone going to be upset with me for this? This constant worry. Get rid of that worry by not participating in that. It's easy to do. And that's one of the biggest things. It's going to help you sleep at night, believe it or not. Just don't engage in that. Don't tell lies. Don't cheat people. Don't engage in gossip and rumor and feed into things like drama. And you're going to have a happier, more peaceful, more simple life, because you're not going to have those things constantly going in your head about so-and-so said this and someone told me about this person and I told someone else, and what if they find out? And then they're going to be just, it's a mess. If you can cut that thing out, you would be amazed at how simple and good you're going to feel about life without all that crap.
Don't feed the drama. Number 3 was be intentional with your time. 4, learn to say no. Number 5, question the stories you tell yourself.
No.
Man, I tell you what, that right there, we could do a whole show just on this topic right here, I think. I think we're going to start ourselves a series up and touch on a series of these topics like this. Implement systems and routines on number 6. Pause and reflect and declutter. Number 8, declutter your physical space. There is your 8 ways to getting back to the basics. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show. We enjoyed having you guys here and talking with the Heathens as always every week, every Wednesday. We enjoyed having you guys here, hanging out with us. What you say, Papa? Do you like having company too?
Yeah, I really enjoy our Wednesday nights and talking with the folks that come on.
Yes, so yeah, thank you all for hanging out with us tonight here on Talking with Heathens. Be sure to tune in this Saturday at 8 p.m. for Talking with Demons. We got Blaine the Mono with my co-host myself and my co-host Morwin. We'll be doing that show this Saturday at 8 p.m. Blaine the Mono is our musical guest, so be sure to tune in for that. Outside of that, you guys have a great Wednesday. We're going to end tonight's show with the band Blitz all the way out there in the UK. Once again, UK theme, some really good music coming out of the UK. This band's got an 80s vibe to it for sure. But you guys enjoy tonight. Enjoy the rest of you guys this week. See you guys Saturday. Take care of you guys selves and have a great night.
Hail and hello, everyone. Welcome to the Random Heathen Ramblings podcast, a Midgard Musings production. Join me, Jesse, your host, as we discuss random heathen-related topics and various other things in an attempt to find where, if any, heathen worldviews can be applied. You can support this podcast by clicking on the Linktree link in the description or show notes. You can also follow me on all of my social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and become a patron on Patreon. Join me every Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central on all major podcast streaming platforms, including including Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and many, many more.
I drink to forget you, but I forgot so much, from your pretty face to your magic touch. Call me if you need to talk, leave a message, you know I can be bought. All the world's a stage, so give me a smile.